New attractions canceled and promised experiences put on hold? Why has Disney abandoned some of its most ambitious projects recently? Let's find out together here on DFB Guide. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. The Walt Disney Company is real good at getting us hyped up for the future of the parks. They give us big announcements that take us off guard, sneak peeks into budding projects, and grand openings of new attractions that can be jaw-dropping. But among these successes and promises is also a company that has to make major decisions that could lead to projects being put on hold or canceled entirely. Disney World is not immune to that. So today we're going to be looking at lots of Disney World projects that were or seem to have been abandoned by the company. Along with that, you'll also be exploring why these projects were cut from Disney World's future and what you can expect to see instead the next time you're in the parks. So we're going to start with this Epcot Transformation. Epcot's been in a major transformation mode for several years now, which is why we've come to accept Walcott and its many, many construction walls for what it is. Basically, the only Epcot a lot of people have ever known. So while we've seen several projects already come to fruition during this big park reimagining, including Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Space 220, the Spaceship Earth Fountain, there have also been several plans that were talked about in the Disney Park panels during the D23 convention in 2019, back when Epcot's transformation was formally announced, that we never saw come to light. So let's break down what's been cut or changed since those original transformation plans were revealed. So we're going to start with Communicore Hall and Plaza. Now, I know these are still in existence and still happening, but the plans for them look a lot different than they did originally. So this Epcot hub was supposed to be a 3-story building, which would include a plaza level, a middle expo level, and a park in the sky with bougie fireworks viewing. The concept art for this building was looking really cool and futuresque, but later on, this area was rebranded in a Disney press release as strictly a festival area, which meant that the 3-story building was sadly getting the boot. In early 2022, we finally learned the new details of the now Communicore Hall and Plaza plans. Communicore Plaza will be an outdoor stage area which will host all kinds of shows from large-scale concerts to smaller performances, and Communicore Hall will be the first fully purpose-built structure in Epcot's festival programming. This hall will be able to host a wide variety of experiences with food, art, live music, a demonstration kitchen, a mixology bar, and an exhibition and gallery space. Along with these two areas, guests will also get to walk around some new gardens in the World Celebration area that'll morph to go along with whatever festival's currently underway at the time you're visiting. So the hub idea hasn't technically been abandoned, it's been reimagined before it even ever opened. We don't yet know an exact kickoff date for Communicore Hall and Plaza, but we do know it'll happen later this year. Now how about that Mary Poppins attraction? Oh, and the Spaceship Earth updates. Though the France Pavilion inside Epcot's World Showcase received Remy's Ratatouille Adventure back in 2021, the dark ride or attraction that was being dreamed up for the UK Pavilion has been indefinitely put on hold. A Mary Poppins attraction that allowed people to step in time down Cherry Tree Lane alongside everyone's favorite magical bag-toting nanny was being hyped up at the 2019 D23 convention. But after the historic 2020 COVID closures, Disney released a statement about the project saying, as with most businesses during this period, we are further evaluating long-term project plans. The decision was made to postpone development of the Mary Poppins-inspired attraction. In the same press release, Disney also announced that their plans to reimagine Spaceship Earth and give it a new narration, story, and scenes would also be postponed, though you can still ride the OG version, well, not OG, but the most recent version, with Dame Judi Dench and the Phoenicians and create your own future game during your next visit. Now, before you give up all hope on either of these attractions, keep in mind that a postponed project isn't necessarily a canceled one yet. Postponed development implies that these projects could be picked back up sometime in the future, but for now, don't plan your Disney World vacations around the prospects of either one seeing the light of day anytime soon. And then there are the projects that Disney just flat out won't even talk about anymore, like the Play Pavilion and Wondrous China. The Play Pavilion, which would have been a digital metropolis with all kinds of interactive experiences, games, entertainment, and hands-on activities with several Disney characters, was part of the 2020 construction delays. And yet, we kind of figured it was still going to be in the works, especially when we saw it appear on the Epcot map over where the former Wonders of Life Pavilion was located and labeled as the future home of the Play Pavilion. But at the beginning of this year, the new Epcot map sneakily removed the Play Pavilion from the picture altogether, and that could mean a variety of things. 1, it's possible the Play Pavilion has been totally scrapped. 2, it's also possible that the Play Pavilion plans are going to be changed or renamed or otherwise altered, much like we saw happen for Communicore Hall and Plaza. And 3, it's also possible that the Play Pavilion has just been indefinitely delayed, like the Mary Poppins attraction and the Spaceship Earth updates, but Disney's just being more quiet about it. I don't know. I guess only time will tell. I mean, that big, giant Wonders of Life building is still there, just hanging out. Meanwhile, the Wondrous China film that was supposed to debut in the China Pavilion, much like we saw happen over in the Canada Pavilion with Canada Far and Wide, we just haven't heard anything about that in a while. It's like Disney just kind of forgot about it, or maybe they were hoping we'd forget about it. Either way, it's still not a thing. That being said, Wondrous China hasn't been canceled. Again, it just hasn't been talked about in forever. So we don't know whether we should be looking forward to seeing it suddenly appear inside the China Pavilion one day or not. However, there is one new attraction you can look forward to seeing soonish that does have a more definite timeline and has not been abandoned, and that's Journey of Water inspired by Moana. Journey of Water will be a walkthrough experience located in the World Nature section of the park where guests can interact with water and learn about the water cycle. You'll also get to meet that giant 16-foot Te Fiti goddess who's already inside the walkthrough as we speak and is looking very, very green. This walkthrough is projected to open later this fall. And after Journey of Water, as well as Communicore Hall and Plaza are up and running, well, then I dare say Epcot's massive multi-year transformation might be close to complete. Fare thee well, Walcott. We'll see you later. Moving on to Galactic Star Cruiser. It was one of Disney's most ambitious projects to date, and now Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser will be holding its final voyage on September 30th, after only being open a little over a year. Disney opened the Galactic Star Cruiser, or the Star Wars Hotel, in March of 2022. While many considered it to be the ultimate deluxe resort, what it really offered was a 2-day, 2-night itinerary that Disney themselves described as part live immersive theater, part themed environment, part culinary extravaganza, and part real-life role-playing game. And yeah, that really seems to hit the nail on the head. Throughout your stay, you were given the chance to train with a lightsaber, interact with your favorite characters and encounter brand new ones, operate the ship's defense systems, and eat unique otherworldly meals. They're all included with the price of your room, like you're on a cruise. Along with your stay, you'd also embark at Batuu and Galaxy's Edge over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. In short, the experience allowed Star Wars fans to become part of their own Star Wars story while also making decisions that'll impact the way their story plays out. So, what happened? Why is Disney giving up on this project after investing so much time and money and energy? Well, we've got an in-depth video talking all about Disney's decision regarding this that you can check out after we wrap up here today, but I'll boil it down to the main point. The demand just wasn't there. While starting voyages for the Star Cruiser sold out quickly, we started to see voyages sell out less and less often as time went on. Disney even reduced the number of voyages offered each week in response to the decrease in demand. They also started offering Star Cruiser discounts for annual pass holders and Visa card members when we hadn't seen a discount exist before that. The type of guests Star Cruiser needed to pull in became a very niche group of fans. Guests needed to devote 2 full days in Disney World to eat, sleep, and breathe Star Wars to get the full experience, and they needed $6,000, or close to it. The second set of conditions seemed harder to come by. Even those who were casually interested in trying out something as innovative as the Galactic Star Cruiser weren't curious enough to invest the money into it, especially since the same price tag, or even less, could put you on a Disney cruise that actually take you someplace overseas. During a Q&A session as part of the J.P. Morgan Global Technology, Media, and Communications Conference, Disney Parks executive Josh D'Amaro was asked about the Galactic Star Cruiser closure. Specifically, he was asked, "You're closing Star Cruiser. What drove that, and how should we think about the impact?" D'Amaro responded simply that although as ambitious and impressive as Star Cruiser is, it just didn't perform the way Disney wanted it to perform. D'Amaro went on to say that Star Cruiser raised the bar from a creativity perspective on where Disney can go next. Something that Disney has stated that they want to work on when it comes to their future immersive experiences is better outreach for fans and guests. After all, since Star Cruiser is considered to be a boutique hotel that only holds 100 guests per voyage, that's another big contributor for why this project couldn't take off for Disney. If demand isn't available in the first place and your hotel only holds 100 people as opposed to the 30,000 that you'd find throughout the rest of the resort, it doesn't take a whole lot of math to see that Star Cruiser would end up costing Disney more to operate rather than give them any actual revenue to lean on. Unfortunately, the remainder of the Star Cruiser excursions are sold out, but this doesn't put a cork into the rest of Disney's Star Wars plans. You can still walk the pathways of Batuu inside Disney's Hollywood Studios and Disneyland, and if you still want that cruise-like Star Wars feeling on a much smaller scale, the Disney Wish does offer up the Hyperspace Lounge, which offers otherworldly concoctions and interactive tasting experiences in a space designed with sleek metallic detailing directly inspired by Dryden Voss's ship from Solo, A Star Wars Story. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it's sad to see such an ambitious and innovative project like Star Cruiser be put to rest. But in the words of Disney, the company will take what they've learned through the Halcyon to create future experiences that can reach more guests and fans. Now, I bet a lot of you don't even remember this project, and it was just recently announced a couple years ago. Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge. The deluxe resort drama doesn't stop with Star Cruiser. Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge was originally announced in 2019. This was going to be the newest Disney Vacation Club resort for Disney World and would be an extended part of the Wilderness Resort family alongside Disney's Wilderness Lodge and Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground. After the 2020 park closures, however, there were rumors and signs that the project may have been canceled. Initially, the project was put on hold, which was the overall theme when it came to those unprecedented times. But then construction equipment started leaving the area and Disney was scrubbing mention of the resort in any of their latest updates, which is when we began to suspect that it wasn't on hold anymore but had been canceled. 3 years later, we still haven't heard any updates concerning this hotel, but at this point, signs still point to canceled. But that doesn't mean Disney stopped construction on their DVC resort expansions altogether. Though Reflections may not bring forth any new Disney Vacation Club rooms, our old reliable friend Disney's Polynesian Village will. Polynesian's new DVC villas are projected to open in late 2024 and will be inspired by the early concepts for Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. These new villas will sit on the shores of Seven Seas Lagoon, and in addition to more rooms, will also add new recreation offerings and dining options for you to take advantage of. Also slated to open in 2024, Disney Vacation Club announced a plan to redesign the cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground. The proposal calls for more than 350 refreshed cabins to replace the existing cabins at the resort, and these cabins will sleep up to 6 adults and feature a bedroom, bathroom, living room, full kitchen, and private patio like they do now, just with different decor. Over on the West Coast, a 12-story Disney Vacation Club tower next to the Disneyland Hotel will be opening on September 28, 2023. Discovery Tower will bring 350 new DVC rooms, including duo studios, deluxe studios, and 1, 2, and 3 bedroom villas to the Disneyland area, along with a new pool, an outdoor bar, interactive play area, community hall, and fitness center. And let's not forget about the newest Disney Vacation Club rooms you can stay in right now. Last year, Grand Floridian's Big Pine Key building was transformed into 200 DVC studios, each inspired by our dear nanny friend, Mary Poppins. See, knew she'd pop up here somewhere. Next up is the Lake Nona project. Now, this canceled $1 billion project doesn't just impact Disney World, it also impacts thousands of Disney cast members. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What is, or rather what was, the Lake Nona project, right? Back in 2021, Disney purchased 60 acres of land in the Lake Nona area of Orlando to build a campus that would relocate thousands of Disney employees from California to Central Florida. But Disney announced back in June 2022 that this plan would be delayed for over 3 years. After not hearing much about the Lake Nona campus after the big 3-year delay announcement, Disney just recently went ahead and pulled the plug on the project altogether. This brings up 2 important questions. What led to this decision, and what's going to happen to the land that's already been purchased? A big driving force in favor of the Lake Nona project was the prospect of 2,000 jobs being brought to the Orlando area. But it also meant that more than 1,000 Disney employees already working from the Southern California campus would have had to have been uprooted and relocated from the west to the east coast, a major upheaval that had several members of the team on edge. Originally, Disney was still excited about moving forward with this major change, stating that Florida was a very business-friendly climate. However, upon the recent cancellation of the Lake Nona project, Josh D'Amaro did note in his email sent out to employees that one of the big reasons Disney decided not to go forward with the Lake Nona campus was because of Florida's changing business conditions. Two people briefed on the matter who anonymously spoke with the New York Times shared that Disney's current battle with the Florida government figured prominently into Disney's decision to cancel the Lake Nona campus. Now, the whole Disney versus Florida debacle would take a whole lot of time to really untangle because it's a lot to unpack, so here's the short of it. Disney's battles with Florida began back when the company made a statement against the Parental Rights in Education bill and the company's desire that the bill be repealed or struck down. Since then, Disney's Reedy Creek Improvement District has been dramatically changed. Governor Ron DeSantis has signed legislation that will subject the Disney World monorail to state inspections, and the company is in the middle of two lawsuits, one federal and one state, involving the Reedy Creek issues. Another big factor that led to the demise of the Lake Nona campus, aside from Disney's ongoing battle with the state, was a change in Disney leadership. The Lake Nona campus was a project that former CEO Bob Chapek had been very passionate about, but the Times reported that even before the beef between Disney and Florida, Bob Iger had been less enthusiastic about the project. Now that Iger's back in CEO position, he started to insist that it made little sense to move Imagineering so far from Disney's movie studios in California. But the battle against Florida was more than likely the big nail that was sealing the coffin here. So that still leaves us with the second big question. What's going to happen to those 60 acres? Disney bought the land from Tavistock Development Co. LLC, so there is a chance that Tavistock may have some control over the land again now that Disney has backed out of building its employee campus there. So in layman's terms, Disney may very well just sell the land back to them if both parties are cool with it. After all, the company did state they were planning on putting $17 billion into Disney World expansions over the next coming years, which could very well refer back to some of the park expansions we heard about during the 2022 D23 convention, which would bring new lands to Magic Kingdom like potentially Coco and Kanto and Disney Villains, as well as Disney's Animal Kingdom, potentially Moana and Zootopia. So having extra money to put towards these expansions could very well be a better financial long-term decision for Disney. However, they could very well just keep hold of the land to develop at a later date, which some believe to be the case. Folks in the Central Florida business community think Disney could eventually change its mind and decide to move forward with the relocation after all, depending on how the battle with Florida shakes out. So it seems Disney's got a lot of big decisions to make, and we'll make sure to keep you in the loop when we hear more. And the airport train. Let's see if I can tell you everything you need to know about the rise and fall of Disney's airport train partnership in less than 2 minutes. Think I can do it? Let's give it a shot. Back in 2020, Brightline and Disney reached a deal building a near high-speed rail station at Disney Springs as part of Brightline's newest Orlando expansion. This had the promise of connecting the Disney World property to not just the MCO airport, but to other destinations around Florida. Originally, the deal held that the route would be complete in 2022, but delays with construction and planning pushed that deadline back several times over. Then in June 2022, we suddenly heard that Disney canceled their plans to work with Brightline. A Disney spokesperson told the Orlando Business Journal that Disney was going to step away from the project because the updated plans for the train's route didn't actually include a stop on Disney property. Instead, Brightline's new train, called the Sunshine Corridor, has the train going from the Orlando airport and through part of the tourism area, with a stop at the Orange County Convention Center and a path along I-Drive. The Sunshine Corridor was actually heavily lobbied for by none other than Universal Studios, since the new route will be able to transport guests to their upcoming theme park, Epic Universe. Universal even offered to donate land and funds to this project if the Sunshine Corridor route was chosen. And thus our dreams of riding a train into Disney World upon our airport arrival were crushed. Okay, was that less than 2 minutes? Now, just because you can't ride the Brightline train into Disney World doesn't mean you can't ride it, period. Despite Disney and Brightline's partnership falling through the cracks, the Brightline train will still open its station at the MCO airport starting on September 1st. This will allow airport guests to travel with ease between South Florida and Orlando. You can book your tickets for it now via the Brightline website. As far as traveling into Disney from the airport is concerned, you can still book a ride aboard either the Sunshine Flyer or Mirrors Connect shuttles, whichever one you prefer. Or if you'd rather rely on a rideshare service like Uber or Lyft to take you to your Disney World resort, you can always do that too, or do a rental car. Just watch out for those peak MCO rideshare prices, since they do tend to double or triple in cost during those prime travel times like lunch and rush hour. Okay, how about the new restaurant Beatrix? Disney restaurants change all the time, but we're not exactly used to them changing before they get a chance to take off. Beatrix was supposed to be a new Disney Springs edition located on the west side of the shopping district, which would serve as a neighborhood restaurant, coffee house, and grab-and-go market featuring healthy food options and fresh squeezed juice cocktails. We had originally seen construction walls and signs up around this proposed new space, but then construction was paused in, you guessed it, 2020. Initially, a representative from the brand that owns Beatrix confirmed that the project wasn't canceled, just delayed. However, now the area where Beatrix was supposed to be is transforming into a whole different restaurant called Summer House on the Lake. Summer House on the Lake will be a sit-down restaurant featuring a variety of options like pizzas, sandwiches, salads, pasta, wood-grilled dishes, and weekend brunch. Additionally, tucked inside Summer House on the Lake will be the Cookie Jar, a dessert-focused market that'll serve freshly baked cookies and house-made pastries. Summer House and the Cookie Jar are currently projected to open by late 2023. Now, this is a wacky one. Let's talk about the NBA experience. The 2020 Disney World closures hit the property hard. While some experiences returned after a few months, or in some cases a few years, others, like the NBA experience in Disney Springs, never recovered. The goal of the NBA experience was to make you truly feel as if you were an NBA star. There were 2 stories of basketball experiences where you would do basketball things like dribble and shoot hoops and even slingshot basketballs. It was a nice facility and had only been open since August of 2019, of course replacing Disney Quest, which was a giant video game palace, and then it suddenly had to close down for the global pandemic. Unfortunately, when Disney was starting up their phased reopening, the NBA experience did not reopen along with it. The fate of the facility remained up in the air until August of 2021, when Disney finally announced it would not be reopening. Ever since, not a whole lot has gone on in this massive building, though last May we did see a limited-time Star Wars VR experience pop up here for a bit, and that was kind of cool. Other than that, nothing. I can't imagine Disney not wanting to do something with all this empty space, so we'll make sure to let you know if we hear any more about what'll become of this area. So Disney World is a place that's always expanding and creating and pushing the boundaries, but much like any business that's willing to take risks, not every idea is going to be the success that the company had hoped for. In fact, Disney has had its history with projects that just didn't take off like they thought they would. But abandoned projects aren't there to tease you. Disney wishes they would have worked out too. Otherwise, they wouldn't have announced or opened them in the first place. What can be said, however, is that the new stuff doesn't stop just because a couple of projects had to. There's still plenty of activity, construction, and mumblings of potential lands to be for our East Coast parks. So make sure to keep checking back in with us, and we'll continue to keep updating you on any more news that pops up about and around the parks. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and I'll see you real soon.